Hey guys, it's Bagel2A's and welcome back to another video. And today I am continuing what would my Pokemon team be if I was in the anime series. So this is part 2. If you didn't see my last one, I recommend you go watch that first. But here's a refresher. So basically, I had Blastoise, Pidgeotto, Nidoking, Venusaur, Raichu, and Flareon on my team. I released Butterfree, and my rival had Charizard and other Pokemon, but I decided just to leave those ones out. So this time I'm going to be in the Johto region. I wake up one morning and head out to train my Pokemon, but Professor Oak was at my house and he told me he asked me if I have ever heard of the Johto region. I said, yes, I have. And he said, well, they're holding a league this year, so I decided to go to the Johto region. Once I got to the Johto region, I was met with Professor Elm, and Professor Oak tells me to go with him to his lab, so I do, and Professor Oak goes home. Once we get to his lab, he asks me if I want Chikorita, Cyndaquil, or Totodile. Since I already had Blastoise with me, and I only brought Blastoise to the Johto region, I decided to take Cyndaquil. He sends me off with a Pokédex, and I realize there's so much Pokemon that I haven't seen before in Kanto. So I decide to look around, and I find a wild Sentret. I decide to catch it, and it went well. And then I see my rival. He says, and he has Charizard and Totodile. He says he wants to have a battle with our new starters, and only our new starters. Did I say he? No. The rival is a she called Hanalei. Okay. My rival's named Hanalei, and she wants to battle me with only our new starters. So we do, and unlike the first time we battled, she gets the win. Totodile beats Cyndaquil. After that, I get to Violet City and to battle Falkner. So I do battle him, and it actually came down to Blastoise, and I was thinking that I don't just want Blastoise to win everything here, because he's already way experienced, and yeah. So I decided to train a lot before getting to Azalea Town to battle Bugsy. So on that route to Azalea Town, I find Team Rocket, and they are trying to steal a group of Pokemon. I rush over and look at what's going on, and then I see that they were taking a bunch of trainers Pokemon. And there were some strong ones, like some starters, final evolutions too. But you know how it goes with them. They go blasting off again, and I get there. And I beat them with a Pokemon battle. So I train a little bit more after that, and then I find a wild Marill. I decide to catch it, even though it's another water type, but I catch it anyways. And I train my Pokemon up a little bit, and I get to Azalea Town to battle Bugsy, and it goes pretty well with her. Cyndaquil beats all three, actually. Well, no. He beats Metapod and Kakuna, but not Scyther. It took Sentret to take down Scyther, and giving me the win over Bugsy. There was my rival. He wanted to battle again. Oh. So there was my rival at the Pokemon Center, and he wanted to battle me again. We both had gotten the second badge, so he wanted to battle. Although, this time he had a pit with him. So we battle, and I get the win this time. So then I set off to Goldenrod City to fight Whitney and get the plane badge. That route, Cyndaquil evolves. I meet an old man, and he asks me if I have an Eevee. I say, no, I don't. I do not have an Eevee with me right now. But I do have a Flareon back in Kanto. He said, oh, okay, and walks off. I thought, what a weird man, and continued off to Goldenrod City. And remember this old man for later. I get to Goldenrod City, and for some reason, it was closed.
What?
You could not go in, and there was a group of trainers trying to get in. The security weren't letting us in. So they told us go back where we came, but the trainers weren't having it. I go up to one of the securities people, and he told me that there has been a major situation where a bunch of Pokemon like Ariados, Crobat, like poison type Pokemon had invaded the area and were infecting other Pokemon and people with it. After that, he says I should probably go back before I catch a sickness from them. But I decide not to. And then I see that there's Officer Jenny standing over by the gate. And I go over to her, and she says, we're looking for people that have strong Pokemon against poison types. I do not have any strong Pokemon against poison types, so I left to go find one. The situation was cleared. So basically, I just left for no reason. And they were letting people back in. So I got back to the Pokemon Center, and I meet a girl, that saw I had a Marill and wanted to trade. And she said that she would trade an Eevee for my Marill. I know, I think you're supposed to pronounce it Meryl. I have a hard time saying yes, but I eventually do. She gives me her Eevee, and I give her my Meryl. Once I get into the gym, I battle Whitney to get the Playing badge. Yes, I'm looking up stuff, so I know I get my facts right. And I end up losing the battle, even though I had Blastoise. So I thought, that was weird. This is my first time losing a Johto. And it's only the 3rd gym. So I go out to train, and I decide to catch a Scyther. Because I found one. After training a little bit, Sentret evolves into Furret. And I decide to go back after training, and this time I beat Whitney. And again, I meet my rival there at the Pokemon Center. And of course, he wants to battle again. This time, he has an updated team. She. This time, she has an updated team with a Croconaw, a Skiploom, and a new Pokemon, Natu. Right? That's a Natu, right? I think that's Natu. We battle, and of course I get the win. And she runs off to heal her Pokemon, and I set off to the route to get to Ecruteak City, I think, to battle Morty for the Fog Badge. So, on that route, I meet that old man again. Remember the one I told you to remember? But we meet again, and he tells me, I know you have an Eevee now. And I said, how do you know I have an Eevee? And he said, well, that girl that traded you that Eevee, that was my daughter. So at that point, I was weirded out, and I said, why do you want me to have an Eevee so bad? Well, he says, I don't want you to have an Eevee. I want you to have an Umbreon. And I say, what? What's an Umbreon? There's only Jolteon, Vaporeon, and Flareon. That's what I knew at that time. I didn't know that Johto had Espeon and Umbreon. And that's my character, okay? Not me. I do know that. So he tells me that he can help me evolve my Eevee into Umbreon, but only if I do something for him. I say, well, why do I need an Umbreon, and why do you want me to have it so badly? He says he wants me to get him a Politoed. So I go out and catch it and trade it over to him. And then he helps me evolve Eevee into Umbreon. And I still ask him, why did you want me to have Umbreon so bad? And he said, because Umbreon's my favorite Pokemon. I want to spread Umbreon to the world. So I said, okay, and got out of there. An interesting man, I thought. That was kind of weird. And remember, this guy is not done yet. So on the route, I find a wild Flaffy. And decide to catch it, which I do. And then I finally get to a Crotique City to battle Morty for the Fog Badge. I get in there, and Umbreon was pretty good for this, and I got the win. With 4 badges under my belt, I decided to call home to my mother and tell her about my journey so far. She says she's happy for me and she wishes I was home, but that's alright because I'm following my dreams. So I set off on the route, but before then, I get stopped by my rival Hanalei. This time, she had an updated Pokemon team again. No new Pokemon, but evolved Pokemon. And we battle, and again, she runs off to the Pokemon Center because she lost. But before she could, I told her she needs to get a full team if she wants to be able to beat me and this whole league. She takes it offensively and runs away. So I just head off Cianwood City to battle Chuck for the Storm Badge. Nothing really happens that route. Like, quite literally nothing. So I get there after training and I battle Chuck. We battled it out for quite a while, and I had 4 Pokemon fainted, other than Blastoise and Quilava. We only had Primeape left. Our Pokemon battled it out, and Quilava almost lost, but it evolved right then in battle. And that got me the win. Chuck said he's never seen a Pokemon evolve in battle before. That was his first time. I say, well, that's interesting. And I head to the Pokemon Center and heal my Pokemon. And my rival, Hanalei, just barely gets to the gym. So she's behind. So I decide to take this opportunity to move on before she can battle me again. And then on that route, not much happens other than I find a wild Pupitar. I decided to trade it out for my Furret and add it to my team. And this wasn't any ordinary Pupitar. It was a shiny Pupitar. A shiny one. I then got to Olivine City to battle Jasmine for the Mineral Badge. But before then, I meet that old man again. He says he's been watching me, kind of creepy. He's fascinated by how I battle with Scyther. And he said I can help evolve him for you. I was like, what, again? But this time he said for free. So we evolve Scyther into Scizor. And I asked, why is he so kind? Kind of. And he said, well, he's just generous this time for some reason. And this man is not over yet. Remember that. So I battle Jasmine, and I beat her pretty easily with Typhlosion, but yeah. So I head out, only to find my rival there, waiting for me at the Pokemon Center as usual. She says, how dare you leave without battling me? And I say, oh well, it's too late now. This time she had a full team, a Stantler, and a Sudowoodo. And we battle, and it almost came down to me losing. But we actually tied. Yeah, we tied. So after that, I head out onto the route after healing my Pokemon. And again, not much happened other than Fluffy evolving. So once I get to Mahogany Town, I battled Prize, got the win, got the Glacier Badge. And nothing really happens on the route after, so let's just skip that. I get to Blackthorn City, battle Claire, and this time I lose the battle. So I train a little bit, go back. This time I beat her. So I get to the Elite Four, and I battle Will, beat Will. Next I battle Koga, beat Koga, and so on. You know how it goes. Me and my rival have one final battle, and I beat her, and I move on to the champion. I lose to the champion, and I decided to go home. But before then, the old man again has something to say to me. He says he wants to train with Pupitar while I head home or to the Hoenn region. And then there's Professor Elm and Professor Oak. And of course my mother, which they all say I should head to the Hoenn region. So I thought about it for a little bit, but the league doesn't start for another whole 2 months. So I decided to go home before then to meet my old Pokemon from the Kanto region and see all my friends there. So, thank you guys for watching this, and be sure to leave a like if you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, and ring the bell to see my videos right when they come out, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye!